Tonight, the National Security Minister responds to criticism that he is missing in action during a crime surge. A new school year ushers in a new normal for students under fully enforced COVID-19 protocols. And the NCOPT says health and education officials have yet to settle on a policy for transporting school children. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Monday, the 7th of September 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. St. Lucia has recorded 32 homicides so far for the year 2020, following the last shooting where 55-year-old Sylvester Lewis was shot merely a month and a half after his sister met her demise via gun violence. There has been public outcry against the upsurge in violent crime on island. Calls have also been mounting for the National Security Minister to make a statement to the public given the circumstances. On Monday, Minister Herman Francis spoke to Hot 7 TV on how he plans to deal with the troubling crime situation and says he is here and attentive to what is going on.
Where is the Minister for National Security? The question has been lighting up social media platforms following the recent deadly shootings. On Monday, Minister for National Security Herman Francis answered this question, stating that he has been available and understands why there may be concerns in the public domain. However, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force has been doing its job.
I have been at office every day of the week, of the month. I've never missed work. I've been here all the time, and you can attest to that yourself, that anytime you call me, I'm available. I understand the outcry from the public. These are 4 lives that are lost. Anytime a life is lost, you have to have some umbrage to those sort of things. And then when you look at the way in which those lives were lost, it's something that gives us cause to reflect. And so I want to empathize and sympathize with the families that lost their loved ones. But again, the police officers have been working hard, and so far at least 2 persons have been arrested in connection with 2 of the homicides.
The minister says of late he has taken a backseat when it comes to media interviews, allowing the office of the police commissioner to handle public relations when it comes to the crimes.
When these things happen, the sensationalism comes in out there, that 4 murders and within a short space of time. So you'll find this reaction from the public. Like I said, justified, but the minister would go on television sometimes and speak about these homicides. And then you get a backfire that why is the minister usurping the powers of the commissioner? Why not let the commissioner speak about those things? And so you have decided that, okay, you're going to ease back and allow the commissioners to do what they have to do and say what they have to say. And then some persons, for one reason or the other, come back and throw things at you. So sometimes you're in a quandary as to how you should deal with it. But I have been somebody who's been a friend of the press. There's not been any press person who has come to me for an interview, and I've said no.
Francis further went on to explain that the role of the minister is to provide support and advice to the commissioner's office and other offices within the ministry. He says it is all within the purview of the commissioner and not the minister to inform the public as to what steps will be taken in future to curb crime. Although, according to him, not all plans should make it to the public arena.
We can sit and strategize, but it is not for me to come here on television and say, the police are going to do this. I don't have the say. I don't have the right to say these sort of things. It is for the commissioner to come and give an overview and say, well, okay. And yet still, sometimes the commissioner can't give you all the techniques and tactics that he's going to use, but he'll give you an overview of what you might see happening. It's for the police to be able to strategize and say, okay, we have about 2 persons that are giving us problems. Let us see how we can deal with these 2 individuals. And the strategy they use should be for them. I don't have to know. Again, the less people that know what the strategy is, the better. Okay, because people speak. People say all sorts of things.
The National Security Minister notes that in order for the level of crimes to decrease in St. Lucia, the public must be willing to work with the police force as they endeavor to maintain law and order. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
In the wee hours of Monday, emergency personnel was summoned to a scene in Rodney Bay. Upon arrival at the scene, a male individual was found with apparent gunshot wounds. Spokesperson for the fire service, Stacey Joseph, tells us more.
Officers at the Groseley Fire Station responded to a call on Monday, 7th September at approximately 1:05 a.m. The information received stated that a male individual was allegedly shot at Rodney Bay. Arriving emergency personnel found the individual lying on his back in the presence of police officers. He was transferred to the ambulance where he was assessed and his wounds were treated. Rapid emergency transportation was then provided to the OKEU hospital where he was left in the care of a medical practitioner.
Details surrounding the incident are still sketchy, but the matter is being investigated by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Hot 7 TV brought live coverage of the reopening of schools on Monday, the 7th of September. From our HD mobile studio, we were able to broadcast live the excitement and, in some cases, the trepidation of students as they made their way back to school, or in the case of kindergartners, made their first entry to school. There was a flurry of activity at schools as teachers and ancillary staff ensured that students followed all COVID-19 protocols, wearing a mask, sanitizing their hands, and maintaining physical distance. Most schools on island, with the exception of 7, were able to welcome students back to the classroom. For the majority of schools that did reopen, educators, ministry officials, and students said the return to school in this COVID era went better than anticipated. In District 3, on the grounds of the St. Aloysius R.C. Boys School, District Education Officer Francilette Lawrencine had high praise for school staff and even students.
So far, I'm very satisfied with the way that things are progressing today. Everything is being run smoothly. The protocols were met, the health protocols, sanitization of hands, also the taking of the temperatures. And I commend my team, District 3, for the preparation, that you would see that persons were trained prior to today so that they knew exactly what they were supposed to do in terms of addressing and dealing with attending to the crowd who came in, not the crowd, I would say the parents and the children as they came into the school compound.
In District 2, on the grounds of the Carmen Rennie School, District Education Officer Martha Foster said even with her densely populated schools, the rollout of the alternate instruction days for the school week was off to an impressive start. But she stresses that psychosocial support is paramount in the successful return to school for students and staff.
Instruction is always priority, but we are taking it slowly with our students. We're not just going to jump into instruction this morning, or this week rather. We want to make sure that protocols are adhered to. Students are familiar with the protocols, familiar with the guidelines, know the do's and don'ts of operating in this new system, and then we focus on instruction gradually.
So is it safe to say that you are cautiously optimistic about this new school year and coexisting with COVID-19?
Perfect description, absolutely. I mean, we can't go in full speed ahead because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. This is a very fluid situation, and we recognize that today we may be here, tomorrow we may not. So this is extremely fluid. I am optimistic, we are optimistic. Systems have been put in place to ensure the safety of students, teachers, principals alike. So we hope that everything goes well.
Schools are operating either on a whole school approach for smaller schools where students will attend class 4 days a week, or the alternate teaching day approach where students will attend school on alternate days. Now, Minister for Education Dr. Gail Rigobert responded to concerns regarding the delayed reopening of some schools due to ongoing rehabilitation works taking place on those compounds. She says many factors have contributed to the overflow of work into this new school year. The minister says in the case of Anthropo Secondary, there are projections for works to continue well beyond the 2020-2021 school year. Jacques Oding has more.
Following criticisms that the delayed reopening of schools appears to be a norm for the local education system, Minister for Education Dr. Gail Rigobert sought to clarify why some schools may be faced with annual delays in the commencement of the new school year. According to the minister, many of the issues which tend to result in delays are beyond the scope of the ministry's pre-existing plans. Dr. Rigobert claims that in many cases, delayed reopenings are as a result of the unearthing of deeper issues while work is already being done on school grounds.
Very often, where the work is done in a timely fashion, it is because perhaps the contractor may have the resources to undertake the work without having to go through this additional administrative hurdle of interacting with financial agencies. Then, as I indicated, we may go in and thinking that the quantum of work as prescribed earlier in the year is that which is to be undertaken, and discover other things as well. And we can't turn our backs and say, well, the program is already sealed and nailed, and so we can't entertain anything further.
In 2019, the delayed reopening of the Entrepot Secondary School made headlines as irate parents took protest action against the extended suspension of on-campus lecturing. This year, the school has been faced with similar circumstances, with continued infrastructural work resulting in a delayed reopening. However, the minister is confident that communication with parents has been much better this year, and that all stakeholders have understood the importance of completing the ongoing works. She disclosed that this is the beginning of nearly 2 years of work slated for the Entrepot Secondary School compound.
Entrepot is a school that will experience a lot of rehabilitative work for the next 18 months to 2 years.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the National Security Minister on the granting of bail for a cop charged with murder. The NCOPT awaits a final decision on the number of students they are allowed to carry under COVID-19 protocols. And the St. Lucia National Trust is confused and concerned about pronouncements from the DCA regarding the Queen's Chain and public access to beaches. That and more after the break.